Hello everyone, and welcome back to Semi Control Chaos. And I'm sorry for the delay in this video, but I was waiting to watch more episodes before I talked about this video, just so as I had more information, and I didn't feel like this video was half baked, I guess. Now, the topic of today is the series finale of Samurai Jack going to be a disappointment? I, I know a lot of people like the new series and they're doing nothing but praise it. And keep in mind, I love this new series. I love the fact that it just simply exists. But I feel like they're overlooking some character development points that they've just they started to do and then they just completely either took it away or just stunted it. Now, I'm going to be talking mainly about Jack's character development. I love Ashi's character development, and I think that they're focusing too much on her and not enough on Jack, to be perfectly honest. I'm not saying they shouldn't focus on her at the same time. I'm thinking that they should find like a balance. Samurai Jack has been through hell and back on a daily basis at times, it seems like. Now, in this latest run, he's had to actually kill people, which he had never done before. It was actually impossible, essentially, for him to do that because the sword cannot harm innocents. Now, he's used it to kill aliens, robots, whatever. So, if he would have had the sword when he fought the daughters of Aku, he couldn't have used it against them. I don't think. Because while it was debatable whether or not they are innocent, and that was even something that he had to come to grasps with himself, they were being manipulated. So I do not think that they were evil. I think they were misguided, and that's why I believe Jack decided to save Ashi as many times as he did. So, now the first thing I want to talk about is his appearance, and this is going to be more of a nitpicky thing on my opinion. I admit that, but I feel as though it does have warrant, and I'm going to get into why I think it does. Now, Jack goes through all the trials, he overcomes his inner self. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute because I feel like I don't think it's been resolved in the way I think it's resolved. It just doesn't feel right. But when the three gods restored Samurai Jack to the way he looked, like in the previous series, I feel like it would have been better if it was like a metaphor. Like that was just like his soul getting fixed and not them actually like returning him to his old appearance. Because he's been through so much since the original series. I mean, as I mentioned, the killing of the daughters of Aku, having to come to terms with not being able to go back to the past in his mind. He's not the same person. But I feel as though with this, they have, like, almost completely wiped away all of that character development and just almost cut out the first episodes of this new run of season 5. It's just like nothing ever happened. He just lost his sword, was depressed for a little while, and then just boom, he got his sword back and everything's great. I I don't think that that is a right move to make. Honestly, it seems like it took away all the character development. To me, in the earlier episodes of the series, it seems as though he was doing his best, albeit poorly, but he was doing his best to come to terms with the new world. I mean, he was using guns, he was using motorcycles, he was adapting. I don't think that this is him adapting to the new world. I think it's him just getting further away from it. And that's something that I've thought even when watching the old series. I'm like, why does he want to get back to the past so badly? There's so many people who love him in this future that he's actually saving one piece at a time. What, just because he wants to go back and see his family? I mean, at some point, to me, all these people who rely on him and look up to him I thought would have a bigger influence on him, but he just seems to just save them, walk off, and never think of them again. The next thing I would like to bring up is the major plot hole, I think, with the sword. Alright, as I said earlier, the sword is confirmed to not be able to hurt an innocent. This was confirmed with Jack versus the zombies, I think. It was whenever Aku stole his sword and tried to stab him with it, and it just bounced off his chest and didn't even hurt him. It was confirmed then, like I think 3 seasons ago, that it could not hurt an innocent. So, Jack kills these sheep, and it just he's so mortified at what he did that he can't handle it, and he drops the sword and it rolls to the edge and the thing falls and it, is lost. We know the story. We watched the episodes. But I thought this was a bit odd, and I went back and watched another episode, and I realized that he has done this before. Not killing the sheep or another thing that he viewed as innocent, but he's kind of given up before, and he actually, I think, did something a little worse. So the episode I'm talking about specifically is titled Jack and the Traveling Monks, I believe. In this episode, it starts off with him fighting to get into a time portal against all these beetle drones. Well, one of them breaks off from the pack, and just as he kills all the others, it slashes the portal in half, and he just loses hope again, or for the first time, I guess, actually. So on to the thing that I believe is actually worse. It's not that he killed something, it's that I think if the gods were going to get pissed off that he lost his sword, it would be here. Because in this episode, he actually throws the sword away briefly. I mean, he's pissed off, he's stabbing the ground, he's giving up hope, but he throws the sword. He didn't do that in, I think it was, episode 8 now? Or, no, 7. I don't know, whichever season or whatever episodes it is in season 5 where it just falls off into the crater. That was because of the pillar falling and shaking the ground and the sword is rolling off. This was actually him throwing away the sword. I would think that if the gods were going to get pissed off at him for losing the sword, it would be here where he just threw it away. Not because a big rock made the ground shake and it rolled off the edge. The only thing I can think of, to start off, I don't know why Jack would be so upset about killing 3 rams, I guess, actually. I don't think they're sheep, but these animals, they're not people. I mean, I just don't feel like Jack would be that broke up over killing animals, no matter how cute he may have thought they were. But as I watched the episode, I thought of something. Didn't Odin have pet rams or sheep or something? That's the only possible thing I could think of, is these were his sheep, and because Jack killed them, it pissed him off, and he took away the sword. That would have made more sense to me than this. This was just the gods going, oh, he's angry. We're going to take away the sword. He's been angry before. In that other episode I just mentioned, he threw away the sword. He was ready to give up, and they didn't take it from him then. Why is now so different? Why do you have to go through another set of trials just to get the sword back? And it's in that way that I think Red Jack, as I've heard him being called, has a point. Earlier when he says, earn? What do you mean I have to earn it? I've earned it 1,000 times over, basically. I'm paraphrasing, but it's essentially what he says. And Jack has. He's been through so much trials, tribulations, and just challenges that I would think the gods would just want him to keep the sword, because as long as he has the sword, he can't be beat, and he can kill Aku at any time. I think they took it away from him in this series now at the worst possible time. At the time that Aku supposedly destroyed the last portal, if it was the last one, because in my other video, like I said, I think the Guardians is the last one. But regardless, that would have been the point where Jack would have went, oh, okay, if I can't get back to the past, I'm just going to kill Aku in this timeline. Just kill him now. Because that was the thing, even back then, I was just like, why doesn't he just kill Aku? Because then he'll be free to go to whatever time portal he wants, unhindered. But he just never did that. He was so focused with getting back to the past. If they were going to do anything that would be like a big growth moment for him. I think it should have been that, not anger management. It feels to me almost like they're just saying, hey, you can't have emotions. You have to repress yourself. You can't have these normal human emotions. It doesn't fit to me. I mean, it just comes off to me as like Jack just has to keep himself repressed. To me, emotional repression does not lead to personal growth. It hinders it. I theorized, I can't remember which one it was, I think it was the Scotsman video, but I theorized that the Green Warrior actually had Jack's sword. I mean, he has a samurai sword on his back. I thought it was like he stole the sword from Jack, or he beat Jack and just took it as like a trophy and was like now stalking Jack, going, hey, you know, you want your shit back? You have to beat me. But I mopped the floor with you last time, so you can't. In a way, to me, kind of like the Guardian. I know I keep referencing him, but I think it was a major character moment. It may not be, but I mean, Jack never went back to that portal. It almost seems like he's kind of childish when he actually is beaten. Like, he never re-pursued the Guardian's portal. I guess he just thought, oh, I just can't beat him, so there's no point in wasting time there. The same, I believe, could be said here. Well, if the Green Warrior had his sword and he just couldn't beat him, he'd just be like, oh, it's just a waste of my time. I can't beat him, so all hope is lost. He has the sword. I can't kill Aku now. The other thing I want to mention with the Green Warrior is his identity. They never told you what his name was. I've read the credits in the one episode where he talked. I think it was the one where he actually was killed by Jack. I think he was credited as the Omen. So his name is Omen, or he is an Omen. It's one of those two. In this episode, as we all know, there's a scene where there's a bunch of old ghosts who look very much like Omen gathered around Jack. So, as we know, in the episode where Jack was about to commit seppuku, I believe that's the correct pronunciation, I'm sorry if I'm not saying it right. This was before they revealed how he lost his sword, and I thought, what if he had recruited these warriors from around the globe, just the best warriors he could find, and, see, the Scotsman's not here, obviously, either he lived or he refused, but if he did recruit an army and Aku just wiped them all out. So that's why he hasn't raised another army or an army at all in this, what we know now. But I don't think that's the case. That's the way I thought they were going to run it, but they didn't. But if they had have ran with it the way I thought they were going to, the identity of the Green Warrior, I believe, should have been somewhat significant to Jack. I had one or two options that I really liked. One, what if Aku raised Jack's father from the grave? The one other person who has been able to beat Aku. Aku keeps constantly trying to find someone who can beat Jack. Well, what if he realized, wait, what if I stop thinking about people who can beat Jack and think of people who've beaten me? There's only one other person besides the gods, and you can't obviously recruit them, because if he went up, tried to recruit them, they would just kill him. But the only other person would be Jack's father. So what if Jack's father was in that armor, and he beat Jack, but still somehow had enough control of himself that he didn't kill Jack? And he instead even managed to convince Aku to just let him just torment him, was the way I thought that it was initially going to be. Or that he just didn't comply with Aku's orders except for attacking Jack, but he didn't kill him, and he just took the sword. Kind of a personal growth moment, like, hey, I know you miss us in the past, but I'm here in the future now, and I have to kind of work into getting you over going back to the past, because it's not what you need to focus on. In that way, just resisting Aku's magic, because I think that the Emperor was strong enough willed that he could do that. He would have to comply to Aku's biggest orders, but he would defy him on the little stuff. So he would beat Jack, but he wouldn't kill him, and then he would just go around tormenting him. And that would explain to me why Jack was incredibly reluctant to fight him. I mean, it's his father. How many times has Jack in the series referenced stuff that his father's done? I mean, in season 5 alone, he referenced the time where he had to kill all the other people. The bandits. So, to me, that would explain why Jack just could not beat him. It would be more, I believe, emotional than physical. He couldn't beat him. The second option was, what if, in some odd universe, whatever, it was Jack's son? Now think about that. Jack had a son along the way that they may not tell you the mother, or what if the mother was the high priestess, and that's why she chose to go with Aku, because the son died, because he was following his father's revenge quest against Aku. So the mom went off and was like, hey, I'll join you, I'll make this cult, and we'll be dedicated to killing Jack. That to me would have been a way better plot twist than what they did. They just killed him off. I mean, Jack didn't even use a magic sword. He just used a regular sword to beat him. And I hope that they do explain who he is later. The reason that got me thinking that it might be his son is in this scene on screen now. He's floating towards Jack and he's putting a very big emphasis on all the children who have died. Well, if he was Jack's child, that would mean way more things. It would be, why'd you let me die? I went on this quest with you. I believed in you, yada yada, and you got me killed. Now, I understand that would mean that the High Priestess was having 7 babies at like 70 years of age, but what if Aku decided to be like, oh, I'll snap my fingers and you're immortal now? I think he could do something like that to just a human. Things how he can raise the dead, burn this world to ash if he chooses, but he hasn't so far. And I can't help but think that either of those two scenarios would be more inclined for Jack to have the mental breakdown that he's having now. I mean, on one hand, he has literally the soul of his father, or his father, if Aku decided to bring back his whole body rather than just his soul, haunting him, taunting him, and he doesn't have the sword, all the portals are broken. All that makes sense, would make sense to me. That would explain why Jack is having a mental breakdown. Or, where it's a scenario I proposed where his son had died, and his wife had joined Aku, basically, because of this. Either of those would have made more sense to me. But, as I mentioned earlier about Jack being childish, it almost seems like his mental breakdown was for childish reasons, almost, it comes across. I mean, yeah, he lost the sword, and the time portal was destroyed. The last supposed time portal was destroyed all in one day. But I mean, as soon as he went back to the place and was like, oh, I understand what happened, the sword, it just ran away from me, and it's not here anymore. That's why I couldn't find it before. You think he would have realized that back then? It just, I don't know, it comes across as he just didn't want to do it anymore. And I think that would have been a good thing to emphasize on. Him just finally giving up hope, and when he finally gets the sword back, yeah, he has hope. But it didn't completely fix him. He still has the scars of being in the future and having to do all the stuff he's had to do since he lost the sword, which feel like they've almost been wiped away, as I mentioned. The other thing I want to mention is, are there two inner Jacks? I've heard people mention there's a red Jack and the blue Jack on screen now. The blue Jack seemed to be far more depressed and he was suicidal, whereas red Jack was more angry. I honestly think they are two different ones, because blue Jack was saying, just kill yourself, get it over with, there's no hope. But red Jack, he was obviously angry, and he said some things that I believe were just completely contradictory to what the hell Blue Jack was saying. Blue Jack was saying, just give up, there's no hope. And he's saying, oh, if you find the sword, just find the sword and we'll have hope again, yada, yada, yada. It seemed like they were two distinct personalities, or parts of his personality. And I don't know. I just think it was odd how they took them away. So now I'm going to take a step back for a moment about my gripes with the show, and I want to talk a bit about their equipment in the future, their gear. I mean, in this episode, I feel like they missed the newest episode. That is, I feel as though they missed a major opportunity to give the to give them better weapons. I mean, they're in literally an alien spaceship full of futuristic weapons, and they went for or Ashi went for a shield, and I don't know what that is. I wouldn't even begin to know what it is. I'm just gonna call it a double-ended sword because that's all I can think of. I mean, there's high-tech guns, bombs. Looks like a freaking battering on the wall over there, like 3 of them. But there's all this futuristic gear. I mean, I would have hoped that Jack would have realized, I have my magic sword back, but I need more stuff. I would have hoped that in the time skip between him or having Aku destroy the last portal and getting his sword back, he would have come to have liked using firearms and that metal armor that he was sporting in the beginning because it offered more protection than, a sword and a gi. I mean, Ashi, she grabbed the riot shield and, as I said, the double-ended sword. But there were all this other equipment that they could have been using. Now that I think about it, this is kind of a gripe itself, isn't it? I was genuinely surprised when they basically just confirmed, without a shadow of a doubt, the Jack and Ashi relationship. I thought that this was going to be something that they would save until the end of the episode, but I looked up the episode synopsises for 8 and 9, or 9 and 10, I'm sorry. The next one is going to be Aku finding out about Ashi, and it's going to put her in danger. Now, I can think of 2 possible scenarios for this. One, it's going to be the easy one, where it's Aku going, "Oh, Samurai Jack, you have a girlfriend. How about I just kill her and crush your hopes again?" That would be that's the route I almost guarantee they're gonna take. But if they prove me wrong for the first time in this series, what if Aku is actually her father, and he turns her, like he awakens like the evil in her, and she gets like some of his powers or all of his powers? Turns her skin green, that kind of thing. Almost like, what was the name of that form that Aku took when he was traveling with Jack in the desert? Ikra, I think, something along that line. If she looked more like that, I think that would be cool. That's what I hope is going to happen, that it turns out that all the daughters of Aku were actually daughters of Aku. That would explain why they were, what is it, septuplets? Whatever comes after hextuplets. There is the spoiler going around where Jack is chained up to the wall and he still doesn't have his beard. That's one of the other things I want to see, is that iconic first image, or one of the first iconic images that we saw of season 5, where Jack, it looks like he has his gi, but it's been shredded to shit, and he just has like the skirt part of it, but he's covered in blood. He has the sword. I don't think we're going to be able to see that. I think he's going to be clean shaven. Either he's going to keep his hair up. Yada yada. But they did say that they're going to leave the series off in a way that it could be continued if someone, or if they wanted to in the future. I think that would be an interesting dynamic, is what if Jack did kill Aku, but Aku is still alive inside of his daughters? The ones he killed especially. There were 4 confirmed ones he killed. He threw 2 off the... Well, he actually threw 3 of them off the log. But Ashi lived. They've all been trained the same. They said she was the strongest. But I think that the other 2, or at least one of the 2, may have survived. So imagine Aku's essence like pooling out of the bodies of the 4 dead daughters and like just accumulating, and he comes back. Or if when he awoken, the evil in Ashi, it did like a spread bomb effect, and it woke up the evil side of the other daughters. And then there's basically two Aku running around, essentially. That, I believe, would be an interesting twist, but I honestly don't think they're going to go that way, because a lot of cool things I thought was going to happen in this series that I thought they were just leading up to never happened. I feel like this video has been mostly negative, so I want to leave it off on a more positive point. The episode 9 promo of Samurai Jack has him walking through this big junkyard full of just giant robots. Familiar, anyone? He says, I've been to this place before, so I'm hoping in the next episode they're going to finally give the plot hole of the Guardian, I hope, a decent and explanation, I suppose. Now, Jack is traveling alone. I don't know where Ashi is. She might be just lagging up the rear, or maybe, hopefully, she's going through this wreckage and putting together some armor. Will be my hope. So, I'm hoping we get some answers on that. So, if you guys like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.